The Pelicans are flatlining. After 4 straight losses and 0 answers, the Pelicans face a brutal choice. Blow it up now or waste another year. Here's what happens next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans, and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And don't forget, you can watch us on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network every weekday at 10:30. Joined by Dylan Sanders here, Pelicans Roundtable. I can't even remember if I introduced myself as I'm your host, Jake Madison at Nola Jake on Twitter. That's how crazy the past 24 hours have been, Dylan.
Yeah, it's been nonstop, pretty much all over the state of Louisiana in sports. It's been nonstop.
It's been a little crazy. So we're going to get into how do you triage this season? Like what's next in the short term, the immediate term here? Because I got some thoughts on Willie Green not being fired yet. And I'm curious what Dylan has to say about that. I want to get into the long-term outlook beyond this season. What damage is potentially being done this year? What can they do to kind of get back on track? And then where's the hope this season, the rest of it? There's more than you might think. So we got a lot to cover in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday. #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know. Become an everydayer. That means you listen Monday through Friday. I think you're going to want to be listening Monday through Friday for the foreseeable future because, Dylan, it feels inevitable at this point that they are going to fire head coach Willie Green. I just don't see any way around it. We've seen some reporting that they are having internal discussions, and it's likely looking they will do this when they come back from this road trip, which should be Sunday night. Mm-hmm. You're feeling the same thing, right?
Yeah, I am. Well, first off, very few coaches ever come back from the having internal discussions about moving on, because that is always the first step that comes and happens. And we just saw this with Brian Kelly. It was, hey, they're having discussions. Right? It was like hours later.
Yeah.
Which won't be this case because if they're waiting for the road trip, and I know we've talked about this before, you're going to get into why that might not be a great idea. But
it's a terrible idea.
I think it's time ripping off the Band-Aid is kind of how I feel. It needs to happen. If it's happening, it needs to happen as soon as possible.
I mean, that's one of the things, right? Like so this is what I want to get into of like, why hasn't it been done now? Like, why wait? And look, I get it. Get off this road trip, come back, sleep in your own beds, kind of feel a little bit of a reset, just physically being home. But if you know this is coming, and again, it feels inevitable at this point in time, the everydayers who watch on YouTube saw me get like a text in the middle of me recording my show yesterday that says something, right? The last time something like that happened in the middle of the show was when CJ McCollum was getting traded, and it was me getting a text from someone with the team being like trading for CJ in the middle of me recording a show. And I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, why wait? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What good does waiting do here? And ultimately, you could say like, does it matter? But I actually think it does, right? But let me ask you that. Go ahead.
What waiting does is cost you 2 more games. I mean, the difference between 0-4 and 0-6, like almost guaranteed.
And let's say they were going to even lose those with an interim coach, right? Which, by the way, you tend to get a temporary bump with an interim coach. That's actually one of my points on my notes here. You saw it with the Kings last year. They fired Mike Brown, elevated Doug Christie, and they went on like an 8-game winning streak or something like that. I forget exactly what it was. You get like interim coach energy before it like falls off a cliff. But you know what? What if you got on a 4-game winning streak and got back to 500 early on in the season? You'd feel pretty good, and that would change things around the team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're seeing it right now with the Portland Trailblazers and Thiago Splitter. Chauncey Billups, a little bit of a different situation, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. If they're not that the team has looked like they've been playing hard for Willie Green over the past couple of nights, past couple of games, but dead man walking energy. It's gonna be brutal out there. They've lost the past 2 games, I think 66 points combined, and
What's it feel like to be one of the players right now? If you're Jeremiah Fears, and I said this on yesterday's show, like how thick is the tension on the team playing, in the hotel, in the meetings, in practices right now? They've seen the alerts, the news that there are internal discussions about head coach Willie Green, and you can see the team checked out on him anyway. And it just feels like you're making them suffer through this, something that they don't want to go through. The players are to blame for this mess too. Don't get me wrong, but look, you can do one thing and it's fire the head coach at this point. So I think you need to do it. But here's also one of the reasons why. What happens if they win the next 2 games somehow with Willie Green as head coach, right? Like, this team has been embarrassed the past 2 games. Their pride has been massively wounded as players. I would not be shocked if they come out and play extremely well tonight, Friday, against the Los Angeles Clippers and somehow steal this one, just because, like, you've been hurt so much. You've got to kind of like lash out in a way, and you do it. So say you win these 2 games, unlikely, but say you beat the Clippers and then the Thunder, and you come home and you're now 2-4. On a 2-game winning streak over 2 good teams. Can you still fire Willie Green on Monday, if that's the case?
I mean, I think you can and you should, but it's a lot harder. Then it feels like you're telling to the players, like, it doesn't matter what you do on the court. This season's already lost. It kind of feels like, and this season's been a lot of weird messaging with the starting lineups, the rotations, just adding on to that with. You need some accountability, but you also need some, like, it sends the wrong message.
I'm with you. You know, they got to change the perception around the team, and they have not done so. And not making a move and taking longer to make a move. If they go 2-0 on the next 2 games, like, it's a tough sell to ownership or to other people to be like, look, no, he's turning it around. He figured it out. Maybe we want to wait a little bit longer. And that just means you're stuck with this, because with him as the head coach, it's not going to change. There's not going to be enough new energy to come in and kind of change this season around. And that gets to my next question here for this part of the show, Dylan. What changes if they fire Willie Green?
Well, the hope is that they start playing organized basketball. It's like watching the past couple of games has looked to me like you're watching a really good, like, rec league team or like YMCA team. It's 5 guys out there that know that they can go play basketball, but they have no idea and no organization, no mission to do it. It's rare is the point where I look out there and I'm like, okay, here is an organized play that they're running. They're running sets. There's motion. There is something going on that Willie Green is affecting. It always, to me, just looks like it's guys out there who know that they're talented, and they're just, each turn is like, hey, this is the time where you go and try and do something. Hey, this is the time where you try and go do something, rather than it being organized. So that's the hope, is that they have talent. They've shown they have talent. You need someone to, like, make it look like an NBA team.
Yeah, look, they run plays, but they're not running like enough complex actions between, say, Zion and Trey, or Trey and Jordan Poole. And that's been kind of the problem, is, as you said, just go out and do something, right? Like that, you know, Trey might set a screen for Zion, but it's not like this complex thing. They're just running a high pick and roll, which is basically the entirety of the Pelicans offense when it's not in transition. And it just feels like it's not working. We've seen it through 4 games, not really work. You've got to do something else. And they're just not doing that. So you would hope that Borrego gets elevated, but I think a lot of the problems here run deeper, and it would just be triaging the situation. Like, you know, it's like the Taylor Swift line, right? Like, Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes kind of thing. Like, Borrego is a Band-Aid, and you've got a big, like, bullet hole on this team, and it's gushing blood, and you've got to do something to figure it out. But it's like, all right, we can maybe stop some of the bleeding and get this person to a hospital. That hospital being like, how do you fix this long-term for the team, right? You've just got to get there before it feels like it implodes even more. That's what we're going to talk about next, coming up here in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. Look, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day. You lock it in on every opening, beating your personal records, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and EFTs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends Advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that is Robinhood.com/yourmoney, your money, your move. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is also brought to you by DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. So whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the bag drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff you're going to actually want. And I love that DoorDash, it's not just food. You can get everything from snacks and drinks to headphones, ice, socks if you need them, all delivered. So the next time someone goes off for 50, use promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only 50% off up to $10 the next day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. For your second listen, we got the host of the Locked On Saints Squad show here, Dylan Sanders. Make them your second listen today. Just get the roundtable talk on the black and gold. Tyler Shook going to be the new QB. I know you're talking about him over there, Dylan. So
absolutely. And as added incentive, I did the entire last episode in my Halloween costume.
What's your Halloween costume?
Biker Wario from Mario Kart World.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going as a crawfish. Just super simple.
That's awesome.
Be a crawfish.
I love it.
Thank my fiance for that idea. I actually kind of love it. All right. Let's continue to try and help the Pelicans figure out what they need to do here. We're both in agreement. I think it's like near unanimous at this point. Like, they've got to fire Willie Green. They've got to do something. At least to just send a message that, like, losing isn't okay, or losing in this fashion isn't okay. We were concerned after the first two games. They were close. They looked competitive, but it's gotten so much worse. And it makes you call into question kind of everything. And I highlighted this on my show yesterday. Joe Dumars talked about how no matter what, this team was going to look competitive. They were going to compete. They were going to fight. That has not happened the past two games here. You know, he's talked a lot about how Jordan Poole was going to, like, really elevate this team. Jordan Poole looked terrible the other night, has not impacted the team in the most positive way. Some of the stats have been good, but it hasn't been like Jordan Poole, the impact difference kind of maker, right? You know, he's looked like the empty stats guy that we were kind of concerned about. That was Joe Dumars' big offseason move until you got to the draft, where they mortgaged the future for Derik Queen. But then you don't even start Derik Queen. You start DeAndre Jordan, who was on a couch a week ago, and you barely played Derik Queen. It's a two timelines approach that doesn't work here. This has me concerned not just for this season, but for long term under Joe Dumars and his management. You know, I did not like the process of the hire when they brought him in, and this seems to justify that right now. That concern, I guess.
Yeah, it's really unfair, I think, to Derik Queen to have overall to have these expectations, because he's looked fine. He's looked great at times for being so young into his career, so little time to prepare. And Jeremiah Fears has looked great. And if you like two players in this draft, okay, I get the need to go get them. But hey, there's going to be two players in every draft that you really love. Sometimes you got to make the choice. And it's just the fact that you're sitting here 0-4, the Pacers 0-4. You know, they are
all the optics look terrible, right? Like, they traded
2 shots at Darren Peterson, who's like the next Kobe Bryant. You could have had Cam Boot. Like, there's so many impact future talents that if you get one of these guys, you feel great for the next 10 years. And they grade out as better prospects than Derik Queen does, unless the Pelicans had Derik Queen as like a top 2 guy, but they didn't, right? They took Fears before Derik Queen. So on their draft board, Fears was higher than Queen. It's as simple as that, right? So they don't have Queen graded out as a top 3 guy in this draft. This upcoming draft seems like the top crop of guys is going to grade out slightly ahead of the current year. Yeah. And this current year has been great.
They've been good.
The Pelicans rookies, it's just, if the pick at this point, if the pick doesn't end up as like a top 6 pick, it doesn't really matter. It's just the optics of everything.
Yeah, it is.
It's how everything looks, and it's 6 months from now or a year from now, we're not really going to care. It's going to be like, right now, it looks like you have no idea what you're doing because you mortgage the future on this team that has clearly, there is talent and everyone was excited before the year, but with bringing back Willie Green and mortgaging your future has put you in a terrible rut to start the year, and it's just hard to escape the optics.
Yeah, and the optics matter. The perception around the league matters with this sort of thing. You don't want other front office people kind of making fun of you behind your back. And I can tell you from talking to a couple other front office people around the league with a couple various teams, like that's kind of what they're doing. They were doing that when Joe Dumars got hired, and he's done nothing to shake that perception. Like every team wants to trade with the Pelicans, which that's not a good sign in the slightest here when your peers are doing that, right? Like it's rough. I think when you look at this, there's ways to get out of where they are. There are definitely ways to kind of right the ship and get it pointed in a direction that you feel good about here. But I think given that basically every move this front office has made in their first 6 months on the job, we don't trust them to do that, or at least I don't. I don't want to speak for you. I don't trust Joe Dumars to fix this. If Jordan Poole was the thing, and I still don't hate the trade because you were never going to keep CJ McCollum long-term, and it's not like he had a ton of value for you to go and get something. You get Jordan Poole's under contract one more year, you kick the can down the road. They need to stop kicking the can down the road, and I don't trust them not to do that anymore. He was
they're kicking the can 2 inches down the road now, literally.
It's like they need to. The way I describe it is this: they're doing a 2-timeless approach. Win now, build for the future with the rookies and Fears and Queen. Win now around, let's call it Willie Green and Zion Williamson. They need to pick a direction. Usually they need to kind of pick a direction around the trade deadline, but you can't keep treading both directions like this. They need to choose. It feels like they need to choose an actual rebuild, which means trading guys away. We should be very active here on Locked On Pelicans in February, closer to the trade deadline with some of the chatter around the team. Is that what you think as well?
Yeah, absolutely. But it also kind of makes it really hard to do whenever you don't have your first round pick. There's nothing to tank for this year. There's nothing to say, blow it up and then we'll go and get one of these top guys, because we'll blow it up and let the Atlanta Hawks get one of these top guys. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't, right? Like that was the short-sightedness of the trade on draft night. But now that we're here, if we're looking at it just from this point, look, they essentially traded next year's first for Derik Queen to get their lottery pick a year early. So if you're going to do that, play Derik Queen, play Jeremiah Fears, and just shift to development at this point in time. And at least at the end of this year, you might not have your draft pick, but you can point to those two guys, hopefully, and be like, they are future studs in the league.
I talked to Derik Queen before the season, and he told us that Joe Dumars sent him like Instagram reels of Alperen Şengün and Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah, that's his NBA comp on the high end.
And if you become that, it was a great trade. But you need to play him to do that. Whenever I looked last night in the fourth quarter, halfway through, and I was
like 6 minutes total.
Yeah, 6 9 minutes or whatever it was. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. I was like, why is he not playing? DeAndre Jordan. And at times DeAndre Jordan's looked like your best player, which is whole other discussion. But you can't start him above Derik Queen. No. You can't start him above even Yves Missi, because Yves Missi's here for the next couple of years. And at points this year, I think he's looked incredible. Stretches. There are stretches. There are moments where he is like, oh, this is the Yves Missi that we all thought that we were going to get after the spring trade, the athletic big. Why are we seeing DeAndre Jordan picking up starts before them?
He played double the minutes of Derik Queen in the first half when the game was close. And you just can't do that. This team needs to have some self-awareness. They need to pick a direction, see who they are, figure out where they are, and go based on that. They're not going to fire Joe Dumars after a year, even though you could argue that they should. That won't happen. But they need to make sure that they pick the right head coach. And I don't trust this franchise is currently set up to do that. They need to make sure they have a plan in place, because they misread what this team was going to be this year. Everything they said and everything they've done has kind of fallen apart. We'll talk some positives in the next segment. Jeremiah Fears has looked good. I still believe in Derik Queen, right? But you're 0-4 and you look like trash. So Go ahead.
I think there's one thing that could really save the long-term future of this team is if you let Willie Green go and James Borrego steps in. We knew he was in the running for the Knicks job. He has had NBA experience. If he comes in and looks like a competent NBA head coach and gets you back, because 4 games isn't the season. It just feels like the season.
Feels like it because it doesn't feel like it's going to change.
If Borrego steps in and can right the ship a little bit, I think you immediately start to feel a lot better. At least having someone in the job and with the title, New Orleans Pelicans interim head coach, that looks solid.
All right, that gives me something I want to talk about. That's coming up next. We're going to look at Borrego potentially being in charge of this team because I have a question about that. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you missed the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks, or I don't know if you're a Pelicans fan, fourth quarter collapses here. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a bigger payout. It just keeps every game more exciting, even when your team's not necessarily in the running for everything like the Pelicans are right here. Bet against the Pelicans in the third quarter. They have the quarterly lines up there. You can jump on that. We kind of have an idea what's going to happen to the Pelicans in the third quarter here. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Again, that is $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday. You're going to want to be listening over the next couple of days. I have a feeling here to Locked On Pelicans. So subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over 12,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. Comment on YouTube and become it every day. It means you listen Monday through Friday, or watch us on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. For your second listen, it's Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Pelicans might not be doing good, but your fantasy team could be doing really well if you're listening to Josh Lloyd over at the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast.
I do, and I am.
There you go. We got the
the
personal endorsement here. Love it. Dylan, just company man over here. I dig it. All right, you mentioned Borrego, and that could be a bright spot on the team because let's look at that. Give your pitch for Borrego again.
It's that he was an NBA coach. It was with the Charlotte Hornets. It wasn't great, but again, that was the Hornets. Talk about a poorly run organization without a lot of talent. He was in the running. He could have been like 1 or 2 for that Knicks job this past
and the Cavs job 2 years ago.
And the Cavs job 2 years ago. This is a man that people want. He was a Popovich guy, which is something that you hear and your ears tick up. He's been around. He was around Popovich between 2 stints for like 8 years or something like that. He's gotten a lot from him. This is a guy other teams want. And usually whenever other teams want something that the Pelicans have, it, ends up, they might be all right. They might be something. There's a reason people still want Trey Murphy and Herb Jones and all that. They are talented people, talented pieces. Borrego, I think, could be a real NBA coach. And it feels like it's time for him to step in.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to play devil's advocate on that. I agree with you, right? Like that's the natural person that they would put in place. His head coaching record is not great. 148 wins, 183 losses. But he's someone who's done it before, and that's kind of the stable person you want as an interim here that just brings a little bit of a different energy. He's also coached a couple of games for New Orleans as head coach, I think 2, and I think he's 2-0 or at least 1-0 in those games. Is that the type of coach they need, though? Given what we've talked about, right? Do you want them? If you hire Borrego, that's the let's win now kind of coach and get back into it. Is that the right direction for them to go in long term for this team?
I think with the way that unless you trade Zion, Trey, and Herb, I think that's what you want because it feels like they are stuck in a place right now. They committed as soon as they traded this pick for Derik Queen. And this entire roster is built around the fact that everybody's 26 years old. And then you have a couple of young guys. They are committed, at least for the next 2 years, I think, to trying to win right now, unless you want to just trade everybody. But again, I don't see that happening at this trade deadline because there is no pick to look forward to after that.
Unless you want to free up minutes for the young guys, right? But also, you probably have enough minutes to go around for Jeremiah Fears and Derik Queen while still not trading everybody
else.
else.
If you have minutes to start DeAndre Jordan, you have minutes for Derik Queen.
Boom, nailed it. Yes. Yeah. Like you do. What's the harm at this point?
And if you have minutes at this point, we haven't talked about them. If you have minutes for Jordan Hawkins, you have minutes for Jeremiah Fears. You have minutes for all of them. You have minutes for these rookies. There are minutes to have for these rookies.
Yeah, it's trying to find that right balance. And when you do the 2 timelines approach, I think it's a really, really hard thing to do. The everydayers have heard me hammer this point for about 6 months since the draft. So yeah, about 6 months now. It makes it really difficult, and that was the issue in the beginning, right? The other thing is we can't go back and put them on one singular timeline and change the past. We have to look at it going forward of where things stand today and what do you do next. I agree with you. It's just put Borrego in, let him figure it out this season. And if he does a good job, seriously consider him for it, right? The other thing is like, I like Borrego. He's a really nice guy. He's very intelligent. It's fun to talk to him. Is he actually going to be the coach that like wins you a title, or is he the guy that gets you from bad to stable and good enough? And you're going to need that, right? If you're still building for the future too, it's likely not your next head coach that's going to lead you to the promised land. It's the guy after that, right? That was the hope with Alvin Gentry when they fired Monty Williams. You have those kind of like step up guys. Look at the Orlando Magic with Mosley right now, where like they might need to fire him. And it's like, well, maybe Mosley was the guy that just got them to the 6th seed, the 5th seed, the 4th seed a couple of years, and they need another coach to take them to the next level.
Right now, that sounds incredible.
Would be great. You can't go to a title without some incremental steps here. All right, we got to wrap up. We're almost out of time, like literally here. So, Dylan, I appreciate you. We'll have you on the show next week too. Stay tuned for more Dylan on Locked On Pelicans. I'll tell you all about that in a week or so here. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter. This is the Locked On Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Game tonight, recapping that, and Sunday game on Monday, and then we'll see what we're talking about Monday afternoon. There's a chance for emergency bonus reaction shows. See y'all next time.